Welcome back to Leicester City Down Under. Another Friday night preview, Friday afternoon for all you peeps in the UK. Brad, how you going, mate?
I'm all right. I can't see myself though. Have I frozen? What's going on?
I can hear you, mate, but you're frozen with a frown on your face. It's classic, actually.
Oh, my whole screen's frozen, mate. So if I just suddenly stop talking or whatever, just kick me and maybe bring me back in. I don't know because I can't do anything with my mouse right now.
One sec, mate.
Nah, no.
No, it's
Fuck's
all good. Don't
sake.
stress, mate. It's all good. I can hear you.
All right. Well, I tell you what I'll
And I
do.
can see
Okay.
your screen share as well, so you're all set, mate. It's all good.
Oh, well, hold on. There we go. Has that kicked me back? No. See, it's weird. That works, but my face cam isn't working. So unfortunately, you don't get to see my ugly face.
It's all good, mate. How
Yeah,
you
that
going?
aside, I'm all good, mate. I'm all good.
Um, so I've had a chance to talk to you, mate. Talk to me about how you feel in depth, briefly, about Sunderland game before we crack on to anything else.
I tell you what, I did find funny, and I kind of get it. I do get it. Enzo put that down as one of it was the worst of the recent performances to win a game, and he said it was worse performance than it was losing to QPR, Middlesbrough, Leeds, and I raised an eyebrow because I know it wasn't Leicester-esque in terms of free-flowing football. That second half was very much a team that just wanted to get it over the line. They wanted to get the W. They wanted to end the rot. They wanted to get that, green on the board, 3 more points, which has proved vital with results going, I wouldn't say against us, but, Leeds and Ipswich respectively. The following pack managed to win, which is something we really didn't take advantage of against QPR. But I did find it a bit strange because it wasn't like we played terrible. We just played the occasion, and the occasion was we needed a win. We needed to get back to winning ways. And as good as Leicester have been on throughout the season of getting a 1-0 lead and then going on to kind of kill a game off 2 or 3-0, something I mentioned to you beforehand, which we'll get into about certain players, etc. It's just not been forthcoming. Even our FA Cup win goes on top of that. We have not scored more than a goal in our last 5 ventures in both Cup and in the league. So I think that mentality set in that it was, mate. It does. I've said this on Chris's show, and I'll say it here. It doesn't matter if you're first or if you're 21st. You're winning 1-0 away from home, and you're on a bad run of form, and you're wanting to bring that to an end. Guess what? You've got to do it. And I think he was a bit harsh on it. I think he was a bit harsh on the fact that he kind of said it was the worst out of it because it was far better than QPR, far better than QPR. I don't honestly know what he was saying when he said when he said it was one of our worst performances. It was far better than QPR, and it was far better than 80 minutes against. To me, to you, Chris. To me, to you.
Big brother is watching. I completely understand where you're both coming from, and it's like it's sometimes when you're in the heat of the moment, you know what I mean? Like it's easy to say that. Like
Yeah.
it was. I agree. There's been, in my opinion, worse performances, but at the same time, going by everything you're saying, like if it takes us up and it gets us promoted, that's all that matters. We're not going to think about that one game against QPR or that one game against Sunderland. All we care about right now is the points. It's funny how things change. We're all given 4 and 5 score predictions and stuff like that, but right now and where we're at, I thought we looked quite leggy. It has been a long season, and I just feel like these injuries starting to pick up and stuff as well. Like I just kind of want to get over the line now and hopefully rebuild in the summer, Brad. But that leads me into my next point, mate. I've been briefly reading about this FFP. There's a lot of stress. Let's quickly pull this comment up here. Sup, Luke. Good afternoon, by the way. My score prediction is 2-0 to Vardy and KDH. LCFC number 4. Hope you're doing well, mate. That's a good shout. this is very, very Leicester, and it's really frustrating. It is, mate, but like I've heard Chris say it a lot, Brad, and he said, "Are we victims of our own success?" He said a lot earlier on in the season. We got off to a flying start, and are we spoiled as fans, Brad, for the start of the season that we had?
I think so, because it is very typical Leicester City fashion. You know, you ask anybody whether they've been supporting from the 2000s, the 90s, or even the 70s and the 80s, you know, or when the dinosaurs were around. If you ask Chris, he will remember Leicester Fossils FC. When you expect too much, they tend to break your heart. Now, again, that's a personal perspective. Did I think falling from top 3 in the Premier League to 5th place and getting Europa League was a disaster? Not really. The way we capitulated was no Leicester. And Leicester also have this other habit of when you sit back, you're like, no, it's all right. It's just Leicester. We know it's coming. I'm not going to get too excited. The next thing you know, we're top of the league. We're in an FA Cup final or something like that. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden, oh, we're going to do it. We're actually good. And they lure us in, you know, like someone putting a comment in a section and waiting for someone to bite. You know, we're not going to bite. And then they make us bite. And then we're hooked and we're going, oh, God's sake. And then, of course, it's like, surprise. We fooled you all in, you know, and it all starts going a little bit wrong. And I think we have been a little bit guilty of falling into our own success. And I know this has been talked to death and it'll be continued to talk to death while it goes on. I think that may have not just gone for the fans. I think the management and the ownership fell into the same trap. Because I said this on Chris's show on his preview last night. I got the feeling that maybe the reason we're in this sticky situation with FFP is because our owners looked at how well we were doing league-wise, and despite it being very castorising to say as a manager, he should never have said it. Brendan seemingly was right to say we were finishing 5th, we're punching above our weight. Like the expectation, Chris, shush. But you know what I mean? Like our expectation for them seasons, realistically, if you think back to them, were we expecting to finish in 5th? Not a chance. I wouldn't have put us there. And I think maybe the ownership felt we could spend a bit more because we were never going to get relegated. It was never going to come back and bite us on the arse. And here we are talking about top of the league in the championship because we got relegated. So
it's a strange one. Let's may as well bring it up. Let's cast back to the season before we got relegated. I think we drifted down to 8th at the end. Now, from how I remember, we went quite deep in the Europa Conference, so we had a lot of extra games to play. We did spend big money because of the previous 5th finishes, had the FA Cup win, as you mentioned. So I never felt like we're going to capitulate the way we did. And we had the whole Voldemort incident, he must not be named, and all we got in was phase. And then it was obviously a very toxic, lot of press conferences from Bella and Rogers. But it never, ever in 100 years would have it felt like we were going to get relegated. If you look before that season started, I thought, okay, we're deep in the Conference League. Maybe let's rebuild and let's hopefully push on for European football again, or maybe top 10. Never in my wildest dreams that I think we were going to have this season we had that was just awful. But we're here now. But as you just said, everything you just said, I really hope we don't fall for that same trap again. But at the same time, I really hope we can find that success again. I still, like I've mentioned before, I will always have that blind belief in this club to do so again. But look, let's get into it. Look, is this a quote? I've read the best I can, mate. But look, the main part that I read from this FFP from the Leicester City Mercury was relegation last season meant Leicester were not required to show their accounting books to the Premier League. However, if promoted, they will be required to submit reports from the previous 3 seasons to league officials by New Year's Eve. Now, to my understanding, Everton again and also Nottingham Forest are in the same predicament. We all know Chelsea and Man City should be thrown under the bus. It's probably not going to be happening. There's going to be a couple of envelopes handed underneath the table here and there. You know what I mean? But there could potentially be 2 clubs in the same boat as us. So I feel like we have to, if we do, this is if we go up, by the way, have to hit the ground running.
Yeah, I think you do. And are you suggesting, Luke, that these clubs with lots and lots and lots of money can simply buy their way out of trouble? I've never heard such blasphemy. It's not like Man City are trying to avoid 145,693 charges of FFP that haven't got round to suddenly miraculously getting points deducted for. I don't know. No, surely not. Surely you're not accusing Chelsea of spending £800 billion on 800-year contracts on players to find a loophole in their FFP. I can't imagine you suggesting such a thing. But however, and there's always a but. When there's a something, there's always a but around. I said this to you backstage, and I'm going to make this point. This is the most unrealistic thing to ever happen in football, but it's the most basic and obvious thing to answer to solve this all, right? Whether it's 114 charges, 2 charges, or 1 charge, right? You tell Manchester City, you tell Everton, you don't include Everton in this, and this is why. You get Notts Forest in the room, you get Leicester in the room, you get Chelsea in the room, you get Man City in the room, right? You tell Man City, sit in the waiting room because, stay behind after class because you're in bigger trouble than everybody else. You get Villa in there if they're in there, they've been linked in there, whatever, right? And you tell these clubs, right, you've all broke FFP, we've looked at your records, you've broke it by a pound or a pence, it doesn't matter, you've broke the rules. So Forest, Leicester, Aston Villa, Man City, you are starting next season -6. End of discussion. No further, no less, no whatever. There's no fines added on top of it. You're starting on -6 because they set by doing what they did to Everton, Luke. They essentially set the tone, saying, "Okay, we've actually agreed. We were too harsh. 6 points." Because Everton agreed to 6 points, which is weird because they didn't like the whole entire thing, but suddenly 6 points was okay because they got some back. So that laid the ground. Okay. Then the reason I say Man City stay behind after class is that should be per breach. So Man City for the next 10, 15, 20 years, whatever, -6 for this breach. Next season, you start on -6 for this breach. I don't care how long it goes on for. I don't care if Leicester have to start 3 seasons on -6. That's the law. We have to stick to it. But you have to start punishing teams at equal measures. And, you can't have it one way. You can't have your cake and eat it. Because I know people would say, oh, yeah, but what happens if it happens to Luton? -6 will crucify them. They should have followed the rules. You can't do that to Man City. Well, Juventus, AC, Inter all had it for match fixing and stuff like that, didn't they? So what? They didn't get away with it because they were a bit too big to the boots, So keep the rules and the punishment consistent, and then start next season -6. At least do it then. And I get that Leicester technically have exploited a loophole, which is now coincidentally set a rule change to be set in place, so we can't do that again for EFL. But even if let's say we have 1 charge from the Premier League and 1 charge from the Championship, and they decide it doesn't matter what league you're in, the charge is a charge. If we start next season -6, we start the season afterwards on -6. Not -12 for 1 season. We take the hit season after season, and that's because we broke the rules twice, and that's the punishment. And I think that's how you solve it, because you've got to punish them all equally. You can't say, oh, well, Leicester only broke it by 2 million, so you're only going to get a fine, but Forest broke it by 4 million, so they're going to get -6. No, punish us all the same. Make it consistent. Make it consistent, then it doesn't matter the level of club you are.
That's the thing, right? So look, I've got it here in front of me. Manchester City financial charges explained as Everton and Nottingham Forest accused of breaching spending rules. It is close to a year, 49 weeks and counting, since the Premier League handed Manchester City a charge sheet without precedent, 115 breaches of its financial rules across 9 different seasons. Why the fuck has it taken 9 seasons? Everton, they took it on the chin straight away. Sweet. From what I understand, we have fine points-wise this season, but I don't think we should be docked 12 points because they changed the rules just so this doesn't happen again. So they can't retrospectively change the rule and then ping us for it before they've changed the rule. But at the same time, this is the best question. This is why I wanted to bring up this FFP, because this is the one thing that does stress me out a little bit. And put your comments in, everyone, as to what you think about this and if this is a stupid question. But do you remember when Everton first got pinged for this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was talks of, I think it was us, Burnley, and someone else, Leeds, possibly suing them. Can anyone in the playoffs, let's say whoever's third, okay, let's say that we finish in the top 2, Whoever's third, if they go into the playoffs and lose and don't go up, can they be salty and have grounds to sue us? Because if we had been docked points this season, they would have gone up.
Well, then the best way to do it would be to take that out of the equation. And what I mean by that is we go on a rampage. We go on a rampage. We beat Hull. We go undefeated. Maybe drop a few points here and there. But it comes to the point where I kind of tongue-in-cheek made this joke. Why don't Leicester finish first, stay 7 points clear of the playoffs and take the -6 off them then? You know, so we stay in the, so we'd still be ahead of them by a point. That's honestly what we need to do for that to potentially not become a thing. Is turn around and go, okay, you can say we gained a sporting advantage, but we didn't. We haven't. We've barely spent. We probably will still the highest spenders in a championship division, but not by much. We didn't exactly break any championship records doing our spending, and we were still negotiating, nitpicking every pound of the pence after selling Maddison and Barnes for 80 million. So for me, they can get as salty as they like. Let's take it out of the equations where they have the argument saying, well, if you'd have docked them 6 points, we'd have got top and they wouldn't have got it. Leicester need to go on a rampage. Leicester need to win the league or come second by 7 or 8 points and then go, well, stuff you. Take the 6 points off us. You still wouldn't have caught us. We still would have finished ahead of you. And then they don't really have that argument in a sporting advantage. And I just think it is salty tears. Southampton were a club I used to like, but the amount of salt that's been coming out of there, you know, your fresh water is going to taste a bit when you're drinking. Don't drink out the taps in Southampton, and that's not just because of any other thing. It's because it's full of Southampton crybaby tears. Trust me. Hi, Kate. That was very politeful for me to wait you into.
What have I come into, guys? What have I come into?
You're the voice of reason. That's why you're here.
I feel like Brad's on a speech going for Prime Minister here.
I'll do a better job. Why not? Send it in. Give it to the government.
Well, Brad Morrison. How you going, Kate? All right?
Yes, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good, thank you. Have you been listening? Are you up to date with what we've been talking about, or do you want us to drop you in it?
I've listened up to about 5 minutes ago, so I've missed Brad's speech. By the way,
you missed a famous Brad rant. Oh, Kate.
Oh man, so I think call it a brant.
Yeah,
a brant. Before we come to you, Kate, I'm just going to quickly get into these comments, just quickly, guys.
Sure.
Next year, yet again, we should aim for the Conference League. I believe once we're in Europe, these problems will go away. But then the manager, if it's like but then also if the manager is like Rodgers, then we never know. Mate, I love your optimism, but I don't think that Enzo, for many reasons I'll get onto later, is anything like Rodgers. Chelsea is a great club. Spending $1 billion to be in 10th position, that's so legendary. Hats off. That's right. Tell them, take the knee. Tell them no for. It's all good. We're all friends here. Man City have 115 charges, equally $115 million to the FA deal. Done City on top. Last one. QPR, I support QPR. I'm 20 years old. Good luck to you Foxes on this weekend. Thank you, mate. And credit to you for you guys showing up with a great game plan and nullifying us. All the best to you, mate. You've really been fighting this back end of the season. Kate, we've just been talking about FFP. And I just asked Brad, if you remember when when Everton first got pinged, there was talks of Leicester, I think, and Burnley and Leeds possibly suing. Everton. Just drew a blank. Is there any possibility that anyone can come and sue us now? Because like you were saying before, Brad, I want to hit the ground running, because if we get docked 6 points and we have a blip at the start of the season, now we're really our backs against the wall. Do you know what I mean, Kate? That's going to be stressful. So I don't want any getting sued on top of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how much truth in it there was about the suing thing for starters, but also I think possibly the reason behind us not suing or deciding not to sue was that you've got to be whiter than white. And I can't see any football clubs wanting... If you're suing somebody, then you're going to get looked into yourself, aren't you? There's going to be a full investigation into making sure that you're valid in what you're suing a club for. So I cannot see anybody suing Leicester, because you've got to be whiter than white yourselves. And I'm not sure football clubs are in any position or would wish to open their doors unless they absolutely have to for people to look at their books.
Mm. And another thing is, right, the mass confusion about when this all started was Everton were investigated, Leicester, Leeds, and Burnley all looked to potentially gain compensation because it was understood that, and I think this is where people are completely misunderstanding FFP or whatever. Is everybody then just assumed, well, they're gaining an advantage, so we're right because if they get docked points, the punishment, we would have stayed up. They came out and actually announced before they revoked the points. No, before they docked Everton the points, they came out and said, no, Everton doesn't gain any sporting advantage by this, but you're still getting docked 10 points. So I just don't get how any team can sue and win anything. It's never worked in a day of football, I don't think. Because they kind of go, well, no, they didn't gain a sporting advantage, but they are getting docked points. It's like, well, how can I get docked points and told they're not gaining a sporting advantage, but that's what you were investigating them for? And then this is what I mean. It's all over the place. So again, I also play a part to lazy journalism in this, and this is just the way of the world. Not only does every Tom, Dick, Harry, Daily Mail, whatever, copy and paste every single other report about it, they're all on the same bandwagon. Someone probably copy and pasted the names of the teams that were suing Everton, took us out the title, added Everton to it, and are running the same stories they did to Everton. So, look, at the end of the day, the way I see it is there's nothing we can do as fans that we can talk about it till death, but until the end of this season, we don't know where we stand, A, in a league situation, and B, until the start of the season, you'd like to think we won't know the situation and the outcome of our club. Realistically, as much as I said there that all clubs should get the same punishment, the -6 should go to us, Forest, Man City, and whatever. Man City should continue for 9 years. They should get -6 for every year they broke the rule. You said it was 9, Luke. Well, for me, -6 every year that you broke the rule.
-6 times 115.
Well, either way, Kate. I said either each season or each individual break. So you're either, but and that could either be 115 years of Man City seasons of Man City getting docked 6 points, or you just relegate them to the conference. But it's just, for me, there's nothing we can sit here and talk about it. But it's a combination of, obviously, no smoke without fire. I'm not saying that we're not in this trouble. We clearly are. They can't just bring this up and make it up out of nothing. But for me, there's nothing we can do as fans, and they've made it abundantly clear nothing's going to get done now until the end of the season. What you don't want is for this story to go quiet, Leicester to lose a load of players that contracts aren't getting renewed, Leicester make a load of transfers, ins and outs, and keep themselves in the positive, get into about November, and then get charged -6 points. It's a lot easier, no matter what division we are in next season, for Leicester to overturn -6 than, say, be in the playoffs if we're in the Championship next season and then suddenly drop out because we've lost 6 points, or be 17th and a point clear of the relegation zone, and then suddenly 4 points from safety, or 5 points from safety because we lost 6 points. Psychologically, it's a lot harder to overturn that deficit if you do it at the midway point of a season than it is to take it at the start. You ask any team that suffered a points deduction how mentally it is. I know teams have had worse points deductions and haven't been able to turn it around for a duration of the season, but I bet they felt more confident of getting into the positives quicker than they would be, doing so now. I mean, imagine, take rivalry aside, imagine if Forest was suddenly deducted 6 points now. Catastrophically for the club and their fan base, that would be horrible.
That would be horrible. It's Kate. So I agree with everything Brad's saying, but providing we don't have a massive blip at the start of the season, because then it's absolutely the psychological way goes the other way, if you know what I mean. But let's work. We haven't been pinged of anything just yet. The books are going to get released, as I mentioned earlier. It might be okay. And at the end of the day, fuck off. All right, we got relegated. It doesn't matter. We didn't, it's not like we went into European football or anything. Like, the fact that Man City have all those charges and going to get away with it, I am going to be salty. and we could possibly get docked 6 points. It's like, what the fuck? Like, anyways, but Hull have made some good signings, guys, in January. Carvalho, someone I think we were linked with, but he wanted guaranteed regular time. Made some decent signings. They're in a good run of form right now. Kate, how are you feeling about Hull this week, tomorrow?
It's not going to be easy. I think potentially it could be quite an open game. So I think that suits us better. They're fighting for the playoff places. I think they're in a really good position. They've played really well. They obviously beat Southampton a few weeks back. So they're a good team. They've found some form. They've got some good players, as you say, and they play good football. They're starting to string some results together, which is key when you get into this part of the season, really. We've obviously come out of, or hopefully coming out of, a bad run in the other way at this part of the season. But yeah, I think it'll be a real... They'll want to do the double over us. They'll be smelling blood. They'll have probably watched on Tuesday night thinking, yep, we can get at them. Yep, we can certainly make them suffer. So we've just got to be on it. I'm just a bit worried that some of the players on Tuesday looked a bit fatigued. We worked our socks off on Tuesday, I will just add. I felt like we worked our socks off on Tuesday, particularly in the second half when we couldn't get the ball, which is very difficult for a possession-based team to get their head around. But we did all right. And we've not had that many duels like that this season where we've had to do the hard work in defence all the time, constantly for 45 minutes. So I think we might be up against a similar thing with Hull, but I'm hopeful that as it will be a fairly open game, that will create chances for us. Our wingers have got to perform. Like, I think our wingers have been a little bit off the boil, and we depend on them so much. So we'll see what happens. But Vardy potentially not being available, I thought that was the difference on Tuesday, because his aggression and his ability to lead from the front and just get everybody riled up and just, fight for every throw in and give the crowd some shit as well. Like, it buoys you. So we've just got to go in with the right frame of mind and stop being so nice. Just get into them, really.
That's spot on. We need a bit of a bastard though, and I love the bet Vardy, bless him. And and look, I'll Brad, I'll come back to you in a sec. As Kate's on a bit of borrowed time right now, lunch break. Thank you so much as well, Kate, for coming on. Kate, I'll come to you this first, and then Brad will ask you the same question. How much do you think we're missing Vestergaard and Ricky P? I know big time Ricky P, but Vestergaard, I thought Cody did a really good job, and we'll get into our starting 11 just after this question, but Vestergaard, in my opinion, his ball distribution, particularly through the middle, especially when it's to Winks, is superb. And if you think about how we build up from the back, it's usually from Mads to almost a borderline suicide pass to Winks, or to two men marked on him, back to Mads, back out wide to FaZe, and then we start from there, or it goes, straight to Vestergaard from Mads. And then you got Ricky P as well, who we know goes into that midfield, but when they hit us, anyone hits us on the counter or we're on defense, out of possession, he drops back into that more of that, right back position. But I think we're sorely missing both of them. And thank God we have Ndidi back.
Yeah, I think Cody did really well on Tuesday. I don't think we missed Vestergaard as much as we think we do. I think Vestergaard's ball distribution is better than Cody's. But other than that, I think they're quite toe-to-toe. And I would argue that Cody's more vocal on the pitch as a leader. The thing that's interesting for me is I think Cody, for what Cody doesn't bring in distribution, that can be made up and compensated if Doyle is playing, because Doyle's distribution and crossfield passes are immense. And I think Mads uses him a lot more when he's playing. So I'm okay if Cody starts tomorrow. That's not my primary concern. My primary concern is, I've said it quite a few times on Twitter and in other podcasts, is that Hamza, for me, at that position is not the answer. If you haven't got anybody to do that role, which is absolutely fundamental, both in and out of possession, then do not do it. Don't force it. I mean, he was caught wrong side in the dying seconds on Tuesday. He is not reliable enough in that role. And I don't mean that in a horrible way. It's just that Ricky P is really gifted. And I think he's shown his class this season by being able to handle that role. It's almost as crucial as Winks, really. So Hamza just doesn't have that in his locker. And I don't like that Enzo keeps batting that and forcing it when he really shouldn't, in my view. I'd rather have JJ there because Hamza just isn't good enough. Hamza's in too much of a dangerous position and too exposed all the time to handle that role. And that's my biggest fear. If he puts him there again tomorrow, we will be absolutely up against it, because that would be my that would be my play as an opposition. I'd be pushing that left-hand side and just going at him. He's a great tackler. I think he can be really industrial. But in terms of awareness, positioning, and the constant change of that in that possession, I just don't think he's got it in his locker, and it's a real worry for me.
Okay, I spot on agree, Brad. What do you? Would you like to further elaborate on that? Because that I 100% agree with Kate, and we have. I'll let you answer first. Sorry, Brad.
No, it's all right. It's your show, mate. No, I agree with Kate on a lot of her points. Firstly, I think we all knew deep down, as good as he's been this season, it has been a revelation, and he's warranted all the praise he's got. I think because we have Connor Cody, who's very similar in it, I haven't really missed Vestergaard, and that sounds horrible, but it's because I've been confident enough that looking at who's available to us, even Harry Souttar to a degree, even though his time at Leicester's clearly it's up, you got more chance of us keeping Daka, and that's saying something, than we have Souttar. I always felt that we had someone who could fill the gap, and I wouldn't be that bothered in the nicest sense if they were injured for a bit of time, or as Vestergaard's been suspended. And I agree with Kate, and I have just made a change on my screen.
Ooh. I love it when I say stuff and people are like, "Oh yeah."
Well, no, you see, the thing is, I made a change, but for the exact reasons that you actually gave, Kate. I initially put Chowdhury in at right back because, all right, Miss Smuggler.
Spoiler alert.
She has one on the BBC, and next she's expecting a red carpet treatment at the Grammys. It's Chris's turn. He's only took today at the BBC. Where's my turn? / I can't do it because my camera's broke. But just imagine / But I because Luke's obviously got me to do a starting 11, and I actually realised.
Don't give your big reveal. Save your big reveal.
Well,
yeah, you're out of control, Brad.
Yeah, but I would prefer to see Justin out on that right because he's more established as it. And...
Okay, hang on, Brad. I've got to stop you there. Sorry, just. First of all, going to both starting of Kate's question, what you're saying, Brad. Who do we put in that? Because I 100% agree with the whole Chowdhury thing, but who do we put in that position? Because if it's JJ, I'm all about it, but we've tried that early in the season, and maybe he should have been given longer, but it didn't work. But I think it would work better than JJ.
I just feel that with the comfortability that the back line seems to have for some reason, playing it out to the left, we are more predominant on the left, and the one thing I think JJ struggles with is being that inverted wing back on the right side. He can do it on the left, but he's not as comfortable on the right. And I think because Hamza's already proven he likes to come into the middle, that's what's favouring him in Enzo's picking. When realistically, when we've seen the best out of Ricardo on that right hand side, I mean, it still baffles me how we've kept him. He should not be playing in the Championship. He's a Premier League quality right wing back. Let's have that noted, right? He has the diversity to be able to do both defensive, inverted, attacking. He can do all three roles of what Enzo's asking to him. Whereas JJ can be defensive or attacking. He can't do that inverted on the right side. And I'd rather.
This is my point. So if you haven't got the
soldiers, I'd rather have that though than
the soldiers in the army, you can't take that fight on.
Yeah,
but that's what I'm saying.
Let go of it. Let go of thinking about the inverted wing back. If you haven't got the only person that can do it effectively, you need
one thing
to
he can.
Something else. What are you going to do? You just put JJ as a straight right back. You could even, you could do that. You just put JJ as a straight right back, and that's it. Don't do the inverted stuff.
Yeah, only do it if he feels it's necessary. JJ's not going to shirk
it needs more thought.
That maybe concentrates that side of the attack down the left side, which we do favour. We've always favoured the left side for some reason. When Barnes was there, now Mavridi's there. Even though you may argue that Fatu is the better of the two wingers, I know we use it a lot more than we did under Brendan, but this is also our first season we've had a strong right-sided winger since Mahrez, so it's understandable to a degree. But Doyle being back in the team, I'd rather have a right wing back who has naturally played that position and still comes up as a left back, right back in position terms, than I would forcing a square into a circle. I even said it when I saw the lineup against Sunderland. I'd rather Mark Albrighton because at least he's played right back throughout his career. He's played right back for us at numerous times. He played right back at points for Villa, so it's not like that'd be less foreign for him than it is Chowdhury. And I just think it's the best option. The position we have missed, and I told you his statistics earlier that I saw on Twitter just about 10 minutes before I came on here. The player we have missed, and Chris will be, getting all kinds of aroused when he's watching this back when I mention it. Statistically, it's Wilfred Ndidi.
Yes.
Because Wilfred Ndidi's 22 games we had with him, we did something crazy like conceded only 14 goals or 20 goals or something like that. I can't remember the exact bracket. The numbers are a bit muddled without seeing the actual post, but we didn't concede a lot of goals and we scored like 40 odd goals and we only had one loss. That was the most important thing. Without him, we have lost 6 games. We have scored 14 goals and conceded 17. And so, out of all the 3 players you mentioned, Luke, I'm so glad one person is back in that. Will hopefully be back in that team. Mate, it's indeed by a country mile.
Okay, so there's a lot to get into what you just said, both of you guys. So, first of all, going back to the start with JJ and Kate, do we change shape? Maybe, but I don't think Enzo will. He's always going to play Enzo ball, but something to remember is that JJ, I know granted it was the last 10 minutes, but JJ was brought on to replace Fatawu at the end of the last game against Sunderland. So possibly, in my opinion, I actually think he looks more comfortable on the right-hand side. And it'd be interesting to see if he'd ever play back there with JJ, Doyle, and Vestergaard, but I doubt it. But he could do that role. And personally, if I had to pick, if we would play an inverted wing-back, I would pick JJ over Chowdhury. But I unfortunately can't see it happening because he tried it early and he's abandoned it, never tried it again since. And then going to what you were saying, Brad, in terms of the right-hand side and being always a predominant left-hand sided team, I kind of disagree because I think I know what you're saying, but at the same time, it kind of depends on like how good of a game. If Mavididi has his man early, he's going to take him on every single time. Another thing to mention, going back to Ndidi seemed to bring the best out of Fatawu as well. And they linked up really well on that right-hand side. You saw that move they did a lot where Fatawu would hug the line, take the ball up, pass it, and Ndidi 1-2, and then Ndidi would dink it into the box. We saw it a lot early this season. So I really hope that we can see those 2 link up today. So just going to quickly get into these comments, and then we'll get into our starting 11, guys. But a lot to get into. Scott, how you going, mate? Welcome to the yo-yo lifestyle. Could we be the next Norwich, Watford, and Burnley? Scott, I'm trying to be positive, bro. It's Friday. Why are you going to kill my vibe like that? We're not going to be a yo-yo side if we can. I hope not. See, I disagree, Brad. The fans can do a lot. They get behind the team and create a fortress atmosphere. This is now where we need to stand together as fans and be more vocal at home games. I think Scott's talking earlier that comment about the vibe if we were to have the 6 point.
Yeah, and that's what I meant, Scott. I didn't mean the fans can't do anything in terms of like showing club support. Obviously, they can do that. What I meant is, it's not like the fans can suddenly have a whip around in the stadium and put a pound in a box and suddenly clear this FFP charge. We can't do anything about the FFP charges as fans. I'd love to see it. Just some guy in a centre outfit with a charity bucket. You put a pound in. Like, what did you just donate to? Red Nose Day? No, it saved the Leicester Foundation. We can't do it.
To be fair, I already get fleeced every game with a bloody bottle of water costing £2.50. So I feel like I do my bit. Over and above.
Just take one of them empty bottles home, fill it with a council pot, Kate. You'll feel
I do really. I'm just saying.
Good on you, bless you, Kate. If we Kate's doing a part of the water, putting towards the hopeful next squad refresh in the summer. Nate, how's it going, mate? All right, guys. I'm like totally doubting after this whole conversation. My starting 11 is right out the window, but this is kind of what I expect.
You always doubt yourself. Your opinion is your opinion, so you've got to own it. If you don't own it, nobody else will.
What a shit team that is, AK. Gordon Bennett, why did he bother? I'm joking.
You're right, man. I know.
You're going for back 3.
It's always let's get this right. It's always a back 3 unless they have. If we are in possession, you look at all. I could be wrong, sorry, Kate, because you actually go to the game, so maybe I should shut up. But from what I see on the screen, it always looks like a back 3. And if Chowdhury, who I think is going to get that nod because he keeps getting it, right? But For me, Dwyer just played a lot of minutes, and let's just start. Before I talk through my lineup, it always to me looks like if we were to say Chowdhury right now is Ricardo, if he usually drops back to defense, if along as a back four, but it always looks like when we're in possession, it always looks like a back three with Vestergaard being the last man back, and then FaZe and JJ a bit higher. But for me, obviously Hermansen a goal, Yannick slots straight back in. I could be wrong. Cody's had done a brilliant job, but I just see Vestergaard for how he's performed this season slotting straight back in. Wout FaZe on the right hand side, JJ on the left because they offer two different things. It's a trade-off because JJ has pace, and he's absolutely superb with his pace going forward and back, but he doesn't have the same pass that left foot, which Enzo clearly rates. So it's a bit of a trade-off. And it really, to me, depends on the teams that we're playing. If teams are going to park a bus, I think Dwyer would have been a better shout for QPR personally. If there's pace, or someone like Leeds, and you've got Somerville and etc. to worry about, JJ's your man. Harry Winks is your back six. Now I'm totally doubting myself here about Chowdhury, but I just can't think of anyone else that's going by what I've seen from Enzo that can do that role. And it's something that's majorly important if we were able to spend any money, if we were to go up to the Premier League, because clearly we need someone else that does it. And it's going to be hard because, as you said, Brad, Ricardo shouldn't be in the Championship. He's a class above. And also, let's not forget about all the times he's played as a high pressing and even further at the pitch. So he's an absolute gem. And going by what you were saying, Kate, almost as important wing, because you could argue more because of the multiple positions he has to play. Now, I've gone for Yunus Akgün and not Ndidi. Again, I would not be surprised if it's Ndidi, but I don't want to rush him back. So I'm expecting him to get a similar sub time as last week, but I could be totally wrong. If he does start, I definitely expect to see him, no matter how good he's playing, to be subbed off around the 50, 60-minute mark, I would imagine. Dewsbury Hall, there's no one really else we can put there, and he looks really leggy. In my opinion, he's been out of it since the Leeds game, and I love Dewsbury Hall, but I see Dewsbury Hall obviously starting, and then we have, you can basically script it every week, both our wingers, Fatau and Mavididi, starting. Now up front, this is a strange one because we've seen Kelvin integrated into the team again, and I've been actually quite happy to see him. Daka hasn't played the last couple of games. Everyone knows how I feel about Daka. Obviously, I want anyone in a Leicester shirt to exceed and do well. Everyone says, he has decent link-up play sometimes. He's got pace. But at the end of the day, he is a striker, and we need someone that has a keen eye on target. Yes, I know he's scored his goals. And yes, I know you need to be in places for these tap-ins. And he's smashed his penalties. Yes, credit to him. Don't get me wrong. But I think that he does not do it for me, Daka. And I've gone for Vardy for everything that we talked about earlier. His leadership, his inspiration, big games. It's his last season. He's still been scoring. For me, Vardy starts. Guys, any thoughts before we pull up your starting 11, Brad?
I mean, to be fair to you, Chris does exactly what you do. He always puts us in a back three, and I have to remind him that A, the BBC usually get it wrong, and B, this is our in possession formation. We always have whichever side we choose not to really go for, they come into that middle park, and the other one becomes that inverted wing back, which is why I see that you put Chowdhury on the inside and not JJ. But you have a defensive formation. You have an on the ball and off the ball formation, and then you have your structural lineup. So whilst I wouldn't have that as my structural lineup formation, it's a good enough squad. And let's face it, we've seen enough of these players throughout this season. Akgün, Winks, Dewsbury, doesn't matter. That's a good enough squad and should be good enough to at least get a result out of any opposition we come up against. Of course, unless it's Leeds and Middlesbrough for whatever reason. Our Achilles heel this season has been them two teams. But yeah, I like it. There isn't anybody in there that kind of makes you go oof. Especially because you're forcing Chowdhury into his more natural position of being in the middle of the park and not keeping him at right back, which is a lot better. But I'm happy with the lineup. And again, I think that is Leicester's lineup in possession. I don't think it's a natural neutral starting position, because that's what mine will be when you see it. but it is a shape that Leicester do take when they have the ball and they press forward. They do like to flood that midfield, like you said, make it a 6 at the back, sort of as an outlet, and then make it a 5 forward. You know, when they're trying to push into the opposition's half, they do like to flood both ends of the pitch, depending on where they are on the ball. So it's a fair shout of the side, and I totally get it with not wanting to rush Ndidi back. So yeah, it's not a bad squad.
Thank you, sir. Kate, I know you're going to head off soon. Would you like me to pull up the lineup builder and fill one in for you? Or you want to just talk us through any changes that you would just make?
I'll just talk you through any changes, actually. Do you want to pull yours back up again? Thank you. I think so. Yeah, there's not many differences really. I personally think he'll start Doyle. I think Doyle started to be integrated a bit more, and he was always the favourite before he got injured. Vestergaard, I think it's 50-50 between Vestergaard and Cody. It just depends what Enzo feels for the game, because I think now he's kind of said in his press conference today that there's going to be an element of Cody's waited and been patient, and he's got his chance. He's not let us down. He's offered something different to Vestergaard in terms of what he can bring on the pitch, in terms of leadership, and we've not conceded a goal with him on the pitch. So that's a real tough decision to make if you then leave him out. And if Enzo, I think he's really fair. So it wouldn't surprise me if Cody starts tomorrow. But that's 50-50. And then I think I just don't think he'll start Vardy. That's my only other difference. I don't think he'll start Vardy because I think he's said this week he's had to manage him. He's not trained since Tuesday. But I get that that's because of his age, because often with these players as they got older, it's not the games that knacker them, it's the training every day. So I get that. So I think we may see Vardy second half rather than first half potentially. But just going on the point, I think when I watched on Tuesday with Hamza, when he is getting caught out, which he did a bit on Tuesday, not being able to get back into that right back position, Younis was tremendous, wasn't he? I mean, he's so fast getting back. So that's another addition, that Younis has that ability. He knew there was a problem. He knew there was a gap, and he literally made it his life's work to get back there at that moment. So I think he's very aware. So I think Younis has probably done enough to get another start and help down that right-hand side defensively, and Fatawu was more useful defensively on Tuesday than he was attacking. So maybe that's the plan, like to help Hamza out. You two have got to get stuck in as well.
Perfect. Look, Kate, before Brad, I pull yours up. Before I know you need to go, Kate, I ask you this. I agree with everything you said about Cody. He's kept the clean sheets. He's the defensive leader. The only thing I ask you is, do you think there's a bit of a trade-off where we look a lot better in attack and in possession because of Vestergaard? And do you think we create more chances when Vestergaard's in the team?
Sorry, who was that to?
Well, that's a tricky question. Potentially, yes. But I think if Doyle starts, he can compensate for that because of his passing is on par with Vestergaard in terms of spotting the runners and doing crossfield passes or long distance passes. So I get what you're saying there. But I think a lot of the past couple of games as well, for me, in generating chances has come from the wingers not really being on form. So it's how you bring those into the game more and utilise them more. So he's got some tough decisions to make tomorrow, because we generated enough chances on Tuesday, particularly in the first half. We're just not finishing them again. And if Daka's not really got any more chances in my book to miss anymore. He used all those chances against Leeds. So I want Nacho. If it's not Vardy, it's Nacho for me, or Cannon. He may bring Cannon back in as he left him out the other day. So yeah, he's got some decisions to make. It's quite crucial, because the main player that makes it all work for me, like you said, is Ricardo, and we've got to somehow engineer that, because Ricardo is responsible for making chances as well. He is.
Well, look, Kate, thank you for coming, and I appreciate you taking your time to come on your lunch break. Do you want to give any shout outs? Do you want to plug your podcast you were on
Twitter.
recently?
Yeah, so guys, you can follow me on Twitter at Kate Blakey40 if you want to hit me up on there and follow some of my Leicester City dribble.
No worries. Thank you, Kate. Well, listen, are you going to the game tomorrow?
I am, yeah. Never been to
All right.
Hull, so new ground for me. Hopefully bring home the points.
Off the bucket list.
Off the bucket list, I know, yeah.
Watch out for
Right.
Dorinda. She might be in that facility. She said she wouldn't go to Rotherham, but she might be at Hull. You never know.
Who's that?
Dorinda, it's Talk Sport thing where she just watch out. She might be at that one.
Okay. Right, have a good one, guys. See you soon.
See you later, Kate.
See you, Kate. Righto, Brad. Here we go.
Right, this is where I
Brad.
get slaughtered now, isn't it?
No, mate,
yeah.
talk us through it.
I made 3 changes while the show was going on, and I'm going to see if you can guess what they are. I'm going to talk about the line. I'm going to see if you can guess what they were before I tell you which one they were. Look, this is how Leicester start. This is actual Leicester's structural lineup. How, if you look at them on the pitch, when the referee blows his whistle to kick off the game, they're a flat back 4, they're 3 in midfield, they're 3 up front. That's how they do it. It's technically how we play, because we have a wing back and a right back. Just because they go inverted doesn't mean we go. It's that's in transition. That's on the ball, and I appreciate and respect why you have yours lined up differently. I and ahed for a while, but in the end, I decided Doyle played a lot better on the left than JJ has in the last 3 games. I've said a lot about JJ's inability to pass to anyone in a blue shirt or a gold shirt or whatever colour shirt we're playing in. He was more trying to pass to a ball boy or Philbert the Fox in the last couple of games. So I'm glad Doyle came in and took on that side. So I did that. I went back to the old reliable with Vestergaard and FaZe. And one of them positions Justin, I picked what I wanted. There's okay. Then for me, going off all the statistics of him and the missing, and sometimes it can be a little bit of a Mandela effect in your brain. You think you miss a play, you think he's really that good, but realistically, your form was no better or different than what it was. How in God's green earth have we survived without Ndidi? How in God's green earth have we managed to get off it? Because we seemed to ride some high for a while, but then when the lows hit and the games got difficult, we missed him. We missed him like crazy. And maybe it's been impacted that he hasn't had Ricardo in a lineup every week to go alongside that. I'm sure he's just as missed. But statistic-wise, mate, we have missed Ndidi because he doesn't just go forward and add an extra body going forward. He does what Ricardo does, like Kate was saying. He recovers to make up for anyone out of position, anyone making a mistake. And Atkins learned to do the same, which I think is brilliant. You're talking about 2 players we need to get through the door next season. Add him to the list alongside Fatawi, because his work off the ball is unbelievable. I couldn't justify a reason to not play Winks because that's just the stupidest thing ever. If Winks is fully fit and available, you play him. And as much as I've had my criticisms against Dewsbury, without a Dennis Pratt, without Atkin playing on that side of the field, without anyone like McAteer seemingly not versatile enough to play in that middle, we don't really have an option. Unfortunately for me, one of the things he's suffering with, he's allowed to get away with because of that, is he's suffering from the Maddison syndrome. He's undroppable and we're playing him to death. So KDH went in. Wingers are about as natural as day and night. It's them too. Again, unless the legs fall off, they're not, they're playing. And I kind of agree with what Kate said, but I think we need that aggression on the pitch first and not coming on when we're chasing the game like he has done. So I went with Vardy. With Vardy. I think we need it. I'd rather have 45 minutes of absolute potency of someone running at our running at their back line, forcing mistakes like he did, and getting us in front in that game and giving us the upper hand. Then, oh no, we're 2-0 down against a Hull City side and struggling. Now we maybe should have Vardy on the pitch. No, I'd much rather be 1-2-0 up and then take him off saying, thank you very much, job well done. So my question to you, and it goes down to you in the comment section if you want to get in quickly, which 3 players were originally out of this team before I changed them in the build-up? Go on, Lou. You take your guess. We'll give someone like Scott or someone a chance to maybe think of which three I initially didn't have in this team, and I'll tell you why I changed them out.
Okay, I'll pull your questions up in a minute, Scott. For me, I think you've changed Ndidi. I think you've changed JJ for Hamza. And geez, I can't think of the other one. Doyle for someone else, maybe? Doyle for Cody, maybe? Did you have Cody, Vestergaard, and Faze to begin with as your defense? I'm not sure.
You're in the right lines, but I didn't have a back three.
Yeah, I nearly said that. I nearly tripped myself up. Let's pull these up and you can tell us afterwards. Question for the panel. Do you think players are getting potentially mentally fatigued? Example, Keenan Dewsbury Hall, etc. And Mavididi. I definitely think Mavididi, maybe a little bit. Keenan Dewsbury Hall definitely is going with Brad saying. I think he has been played into the ground, and I think he did last season as well, to be fair.
Yeah.
I think Enzo must have said something to Eunice and KDH in terms of number eights need to defend deep when out of possession. Scott, I ask you this, mate. Do you think that's because Ricardo's not on the side, or do you just mean in general?
I think it is because
Ricky P.
Yeah, I think it is. You've got to compensate for what you're missing, and I think it's also to do with Wilfred and Ndidi. We
That's
can't
another
know.
point.
This is the problem, squad. Scott, it's great having youngsters that have that potential to break into the squad. But here's two things. Braybook and Alves have been talked about all season. Now, again, I don't know if they've had knockbacks with their recovery, but they were training 2 months ago. They were back in training with the first team in December. Now, again, someone might say, well, actually, Alves had a knock or something in the recovery. But we've been blowing smoke up their asses. They haven't kicked a ball. Nelson's come out of nowhere into the team, not just on the bench, but into the first team, played in an FA Cup game and a couple of league games, and no one was talking about him. Marcel started the season because we hadn't got wingers through the door. We hadn't quite got Mavididi and Eunice in yet, or they'd only just arrived, sort of thing. And I think McAteer had a bit of an injury. Enzo made it no shyness that he wanted McAteer to be starting winger for the start of the season until these players were in and integrated, and then he'd fight for the position. So Marcel's probably second choice, third choice on that right behind McAteer. Maybe he's second choice on the left wing because he can play on that side behind Mavididi. But we're in a point of the season now, Scott, where all your chopping and changing and your little, we're playing Rotherham down the bottom of the league, maybe we can risk dropping 3 or 4 players, is out the window. We need our strongest 11 game in, game out, whether it's a Tuesday night, whether it's a Saturday afternoon. I don't care. You need your strongest 11 out there. I'm not saying McAteer and Marcel can do a job. They can't do a job. They can. But we're given our situation, given the pressure on us to make sure we're winning each week. I don't want Hull fans sitting in their seats, Luke. I don't want a Hull fan sitting there with their £3, £3.50, £4 match day programme, rubbing their hands going, hey, up Leicester a week. No Mavididi, no Fatawu, no JJ, no Ndidi. Give us this Leicester team. You want
it's
them
too late for
there,
that.
You want their fans sitting there before a ball's even kicked going, Christ, how are we going to cope?
They've got Vardy on the bench. Oh my God, Vardy's coming off the bench. You're exactly right. Yeah. It's too late, Brad, because where the situation's at, and we're too deep into the FA Cup now. You can't put these kids on against Chelsea. You're spot on right. It's too late for that now. If we still had that comfortable lead that we had in January, and they were available, sure, maybe. But the reality is, for me now, they need to, and this goes for McAteer as well, mate, because I don't think he's hit that same form since he's come back from his injury, and Fatal is just. You can see his ceiling's too high. So, in my opinion, every single one of them needs to get a loan move next season, in my opinion, for the development of the championship. All 3 of them. Braybook, Alves, and McAteer. And I think Nelson can actually be a squad player. I think Nelson stays. Now, before I pull up Scott's get 3 that his guests that you've asked him before, Brad. I want to say something. This might be somewhat controversial, even with the FFP thing, even if it hadn't have happened. Hamza Chowdhury, yes, he's done a job when needed, and yes, it's awesome. But if he was not a Leicester lad, would we be singing his praises as much? And also, would he have gotten that contract extension? Because I feel like I haven't mentioned it, but I feel like I'm the only one that didn't like that contract extension, to be honest with you, for the amount of years he got. For if we were to go to the Premier League, I don't think he's a squad player at best in the Premier League. Why? I just, yeah, and the position he's played, and we all keep agreeing that it's not his best and most comfortable position. He comes in to do a job against certain styles of play. I don't like the contract extension. I could get slaughtered for this, but what do you think, Brad?
I think he wouldn't be getting such a kindness in his reprieve in his Leicester career because he's been troubled, hasn't he? The COVID trouble, partying, in and out the squad, performs one week, and then Brendan himself, said he has the ability to be like Busquets was at Barcelona, and then didn't play him at all ever. So he's been troubled. He's had to mature. He's had to spend time away from the club, not just away from the starting 11, but away from Leicester completely with his loan move he had to Watford last season. And I think it has done him the benefit. And the thing is, you've got to remember, Luke, right? You said it there. He is at best a squad player in the Premier League. And I agree with you. Sorry, it was Mascherano. I knew he compared him to someone, Nate. But I agree with you. If we was to get promoted, and let's say we were, forget FFP, let's pretend it's not a thing right now. He is a squad player, right? He is somebody that you could throw on, you could put on for a niggly injury, say like Winks is knackered, he's got a bit of a knot. We don't want to risk him because we're playing because we're playing bloody the equivalent of Sheffield United. So we can take a chance. It's the best time to rotate. The Christmas period, he'll probably get a few games in there. Do you know what it means if we've got someone like Hamza Chowdhury already tied down to like an extra 2 years at the club? It means we've got one less position we need to fill in this summer transfer window. Because people seem to think you only go out and buy first team players. No, you go out to buy a 25-man squad. You go out there and convince a player that he's going to get enough game time that he desires. He's not going to start every week, but he's going to come off the bench. He's going to start in parts of the season when we really need him, like I mentioned, the Christmas period. He's going to start in games when it's like your Bournemouth. With the greatest respect, I'm trying to think of clubs that are in the low to mid-table of the Championship. Your Bournemouth, your Crystal Palace oppositions. You're going to play against these. When we're playing Christmas and we've got 4 games in 8 days, you're going to play a game or 2 there because we're going to need you to play. If Hamza is happy to be that player, that's one person we don't have to go and buy out in the transfer window. So I'm happy to have him here on extension. Yes, he's done things that maybe if he wasn't Leicester born and bred, we wouldn't be so forgiven or easily forgiven for. I agree with you. But I'm happy for him to be in this team going forward because I think he knows and he has accepted his role. And it's something he didn't do in his younger days when he was reckless and a lot less mature. I think he's learned, he's been scolded by his mistakes, and he's come back a better and a lot more mature player. Yes, he's not a right back, but I can guarantee you, if he's playing in that middle part of the field, running around like a blow-ass fight, tackling people, crunching fair tackles, I'm all for it, mate. And I don't think there's many Leicester fans out there that wouldn't like to see him playing in his natural role. Because you can't bemoan him for playing badly if he's not in his natural position, can you? You know what I mean? You can bemoan him if he plays badly and he's playing in his position, but when he's played in the middle of the park, he's served as well.
Fair enough, mate. That's a very fair answer. The skin against his last comments, Brad, and I will get a score prediction out of you, and I'll send you on your merry way, and I will no doubt see you for the watch along tomorrow if you're going to be there.
Tell you who my 3 players were. I changed my squad as well, so we'll do that as well.
Here we go. So Scott has got Justin and Didi and FaZe for Justin. So this is what he's saying. So he reckons Justin and Didi and FaZe. He said Justin twice. I'm confused here. For Brighton, he said first 3 he's changed to bring into the team. Brad, who are your
Stop.
3 players?
Well, bring the squad up so people can see and refresh it. But I initially had Cody and Vestergaard together.
Yep.
And the reason I did is because I was thinking to myself, all 3 of them have a case to play. FaZe, Vestergaard, and Cody all have a case to be in a starting lineup for Leicester. I don't like the 3 at the back because purely one of the most horrendous memories I have of the 3 at back was that drab game we played at Hillsborough against Sheffield Wednesday. We were terrible. We should have been beaten. We were lucky that we only dropped the points, regardless of the fact that they scored late on.
Thank you, Scott.
But I couldn't fathom a way that Cody and Vestergaard work together well. Yes, they're leaders. Yes, they're great passers. But as we've seen, we need an outlet. You need a wild phase to allow someone like Vestergaard or Cody to sit back and do the defensive lineup. And when we've got 2 similar players on that pitch, they don't get the lines right. They don't push up together. One sits back while one tries to push forward. And we've been caught out a few times over these last couple of weeks with chances and goals conceded because one of our centre-backs was still pushing a high line and the other one was caught in between. And I think if you've got both Vestergaard and Cody on there, you just haven't got that. You've got that inconsistency. So unfortunately, right now, they both make a case which one would play. Kind of like Kate said, I'm happy if it's either Cody or Vestergaard. But I think the fact that he's been a mainstay for the season is going to be Vestergaard and Wout FaZe.
Yep.
My second change I made is I let my Enzo brain affect my normal brain. I originally had Hamza Chowdhury at right back because I can see it happening. Would I be comfortable with it? Not really. Again, if he was in the middle 3, yes, I would be happy with it. But I changed it to JJ because I have to stand by what I predicted for the Sunderland lineup. Is I would much prefer an experienced right back. Because, like it said, you search him up. Yes, he's noted as a left wing back, but he's also noted as a right wing back. He can play both wing backs, and if you play that position naturally, you're naturally going to be better to custom yourself on another side of it than you are anybody else that's makeshifting themselves. My third change, surprisingly enough, it isn't a midfielder. It isn't a winger. It was Jamie Vardy for the exact statement I made. I initially had Iheanacho in because he's my love child, right? Cannon, Daka, Iheanacho, all pretty much the same boat. It's just, for me, the one thing I think we lacked, and I get why this should definitely be the last season he plays for us. I'm sorry it should be. As much as I love the guy, I think this will be the last season we see him play, unless he's really going to become a 10-minute here, a 10-minute there bench player for one last season in the Premiership. I don't know. But for me, we've got to go at him. We've got to scare their opposition because the one thing he offers above every single striker we have available to us in that squad, and I know we have similar styles of strikers, I know we have different strikers that do different things, his ability to push the line. He will chase that ball. He will put a goalkeeper under that much pressure that he goes from thinking he's got all the time in the world to suddenly realising it, he's passing the ball and he doesn't want it back because Jamie Vardy's going to take the ball off us. You know, when we played well in that first half attack-wise, it was because he pressured them into kicking it out for a throw-in. It was because they pressured the defender into dithering around on the ball. You do not get that from Vardy, Cannon or Iheanacho. And that's why I know Kate said rest him, bring him on. That's not worked. We were 2-0 down against Middlesbrough when he did that. You know, we were losing the game or behind the 8 ball when he did that last time. When he started him against Sunderland, we got the initiative. And we were in front. And it was vital because it was the only goal of the game. Now, I'm not saying he has to score against Hull for us to do that, but if he creates the unrest and pressure and the nervousness in the Hull defence, someone like Winks, Dewsbury Hall, Fatawu and Mavididi, they get 2 or 3 chances. We're going to take 1 or 2 of them. You know what I mean? I don't want to be sat there as much as Iheanacho is my love child, and as much as I know Daka can play that high line, which is what Vardy does. And Cannon is a good striker. None of them offer you what Vardy does. I'd rather throw that at Hull, even if it was for 45 minutes, Luke. I'd rather throw a terrorising Vardy at them for 45 minutes or 60 minutes or whatever than I would, you know, I'd rather that than Enzo going, we're still 1-0 down or we're still 0-0. Vardy, can you go on and do it? Because by that time, the defence are ready for it. They're expecting it. Vardy's one of them. He's easy to know what he's going to do. It's harder to stop him doing it. And if you've been playing for 60 minutes, 70 minutes, knowing how to defend and deal with it, and you're in a position of power where you're 1-0 up or you're 0-0, you're going to sit deeper back. You're going to, Jamie Vardy's going to be absolutely redundant bringing him on for them 10, 15 minutes or whatever it is. If you've got him on from the start, good luck to Hull trying to stop him. Me personally. So my 3 changes was I took out in Iheanacho, put Vardy in. I buckled under the pressure, I think, and thought it made sense to put Vestergaard in over Cody. But again, that was more 50-50 because I couldn't put Vestergaard and Cody in the same team. And I went with my heart. I put JJ on the right over what I think Enzo's going to do because, like you said, this is my lineup, not Enzo's, and that's why that's the lineup I went with. So, yeah, that explains my 3 changes. You were in the right vicinity with the Doyle Justin sort of thing. You just couldn't picture it out right.
Yeah,
and I
couldn't.
thought you would say I maybe went to a 3 at the back, but it was a disaster class the last time I remember us using it. So, yeah.
Brad Guardiola. Thank you so much, mate. Before I get you out of here, Brad, thank you for coming on. Tell me your score prediction.
I'm feeling the vibe. I'm feeling the clean sheet vibe. I think we've shown in our 2 wins over the last few games, both, I don't know, again, cup game, drag it out. But our 2 defensive displays against Sunderland and Bournemouth show we are capable of getting clean sheets. With the return of certain players, I'm expecting a bit of a goal fest. I have predicted in the league 2-0. I'm going to do a Luke special. Just for Luke, just for you guys on this channel. Take the knee, Hull, get out the playoffs, get in the bin. Leicester City are back with a vengeance. Hull City 0, Leicester City 4. That's what's going to happen. You can get out the playoffs. You can stink out the rest of your area, Hull. Oh, sod what you did to us at the start of the season. We weren't even at 10% when you beat us 1-0 and you scummed your way to a victory there by playing 7 men behind the ball. You're not doing it this game. Luke Special's incoming. Leicester 4-0. Indeed, he's on the score sheet. Vardy's grabbing the brace. Fatua's knocking in 1. And everybody else is going to drop points. There we go, Luke. You heard it here first.
Nice one, Brad Guardiola. From what I remember, I'm pretty sure it was a mistake from Doyle where we were playing it at the back and new to the system that cost us that goal, if I remember correctly. But I'm not panic station, but I'm still a little anxious. I love your faith. It makes me feel a bit more confident, but I am going to go 2-0. I'm going to go 2-0 for Leicester, Vardy to score, and I'm actually going to go for a goal from Mavididi. That's my prediction. I hope it's 4-0.
96 minutes, mate. Madsen's going up for the corner, mate. That's how we're really winning it. We don't realise it yet.
Yeah, let's see it when you disrespect someone in FIFA. Hopefully, we win a penalty and Mads steps up and takes the penalty.
just as a backflip lashes it into the corner.
Brad, thank you, mate. I'll see you tomorrow, I'm sure, for the watch along of Leicester City till I die. And also, guys, just a cheeky little plug for Chris. I believe right now, as we're talking, he is on the When You're Smiling podcast. Is that right, Brad?
I believe so. He is there with Owen Palmer, and Matt Pipes. Matt Piper, who is a great advocate of Leicester. Anyone who remembers that relegation we had, he was offloaded purely because we needed the money. He was desperate to stay. He outspokenly was willing to take a pay cut and everything. So he's always an idol of mine. I will tell you backstage, which is kind of funny, but yeah, he's there. It's the When You're Smiling podcast. Maybe one day, Luke, me and you will have our moment in the sun. Maybe just one day they'll reach out and say you 2 legends come on the show. But until that happens, I'm very glad to see our fellow co-workers getting the representation they deserve.
So am I, mate. We just had our moment in the sun with Kate. We forgot she's a celebrity. So shout out to Kate. Thank you.
Yeah. Scarlett Johansson, the Scarlett Johansson of the Leicester City world, she is.
Yeah. Guys, thank you so much. And if you like this, please like and subscribe. If not, like I say always, I'm just happy that you tuned in. Have a good weekend, guys, and I will catch you on the next one.